Twilight Imperium, now in its 3rd edition, is an epic space conquest and empire building game that's gained a reputation for its complexity and its long setup time. Now, if you have the patience, you will be rewarded with dramatic set-piece battles, intense political intrigue, and a great theme that's going to tie it all together.
So in Twilight Imperium, each player takes on the role of a unique alien race bent on taking over the galaxy in the wake of a devastating civil war. Players will explore new planets, research technologies, and engage in the delicate arts of politics and warfare in order to secure their role at the head of the new galactic order. The game supports from 3 to 6 players and plays out in 3 to 6 hours. Now, the base game comes with a few mini expansions and rule variants in the box, as well as 2 full-sized expansions that you can purchase to expand your game. The first, Shattered Empire, expands the game to include 8 players, as well as adding new playable races and actions. The second, Shards of the Throne, adds new playable races, 2 new types of units, and a unique scenario game.
Players begin Twilight Imperium by picking one of the 10 playable races. Now, this playable race is going to determine what your home planet is, as well as your starting technologies and your starting units. Also, each playable race has a set of special abilities that will suit it to a particular playing style. Once everybody has selected their race, you set up the game board together, and the last thing you do is place your home planets and your starting units. At the center of each player's play area is a race sheet, with your command tokens, as well as your technology cards, your action cards, and your planet cards, as well as any spare units. Anything that you don't use, so any decks or any spare pieces that you don't use, are placed on the side of the board, along with the victory point track. Now, finally, each player is handed a secret objective card, and one of their flag tokens is placed at the beginning of the victory point track.
So over the course of the game, players are going to earn victory points by fulfilling their unique secret objective or the shared public objectives that get revealed over the course of the game. The winner is the first person to reach 10 victory points, and the game ends immediately when they hit this amount. The game can also end with the drawing of the Imperium Rex public objective card, at which point whoever has the most points as soon as that came up is declared the winner.
Twilight Imperium plays out in rounds, and each round has 3 phases: the strategy phase, the action phase, and the status phase. In the strategy phase, each player draws a strategy card from the common play area. That strategy card will have a primary ability on it, which will determine what that player's role will be in the action phase to come, as well as determining turn order. Each card also lists a secondary ability, which is accessible by every other player in the game once that strategy card is played. So when you draw a strategy card, you have to pay attention to not just how that card is going to affect you, but also how it's going to affect everybody else around the table.
There are a total of 8 different strategy cards to choose from. Initiative puts you first in the turn order and also lowers the cost of executing other cards' secondary abilities. Diplomacy forces a truce with one other player, while Warfare gives you extra movement and activation options in preparation for combat. Trade is going to allow you to purchase trade goods, which can then be exchanged for resources later in the game, while Logistics allows you to replenish your pool of command tokens. Technology allows you to buy new techs that change the way that your empire builds and fights, and Politics is going to allow you to vote on new galactic laws which are going to change the rules of the game. The last one, Imperial, reveals a new public objective card for everybody to work towards, as well as granting its holder extra victory points. Once everybody has chosen a strategy card, then the game moves on to the action phase of the round.
Now, the action phase makes up the bulk of the gameplay in Twilight Imperium. During this action phase, players can use that primary ability on their strategy cards. They can explore new planets, or they can go to war. Now, you can use as many actions as you would like in a round, but you can only make 1 action per turn. Furthermore, the total number of actions available to you are determined by your command pool on your race sheet. Tokens in the strategy allocation pool can be used to purchase secondary abilities of other people's strategy cards. Your fleet supply tokens show you how many ships you can have in one particular system, and your command pool tokens allow you to activate systems, which can let you build new units, take over neutral planets, or begin combat. A system can only be activated once per round.
So after activating a neutral planet system by placing a command token in its hex, a player can land ground troops on that planet and add it to their holdings, which is going to expand their empire as well as granting them access to the planet's resources. Resources are marked in green on the planet and can be spent on either new units or on technologies that are going to enhance your empire. Political influence for each planet is marked in red, and it gets used to vote on new galactic laws which change the rules of the game during the politics phase. You can only use a planet's resources or political influence once per round, at which point it's considered exhausted, and you indicate that by flipping the card over. You can, however, purchase extra resources and political influence if you've got trade goods to spend.
To build new units, players activate a system with a space dock, and then they spend resources to place those new units on the table, being careful not to exceed their fleet supply limit. To move into a new system, players activate the target system and then move their fleet in depending on the speed of each of the ships in their fleet. Combat occurs when players move into an area that's already dominated by another player, and then the battle is resolved through dice rolls.
Players may also play action cards either as individual actions during their turn or in order to supplement their movement, combat, trade, or even political negotiations. Once every player has played their strategy card, as well as taking any other actions that they want and are able to, then the action phase is going to be over, and we move on to the status phase.
During the status phase, players remove their command tokens from the board and place 2 new command tokens in the pools on their race sheet. They then receive 1 action card, and they refresh any planets that have been exhausted. At this point, they may also receive any rewards that they've achieved by fulfilling a secret or a public objective. And finally, all the strategy cards are returned to the common play area. Play continues in these 3 phases, strategy, action, and status, until one player gets 10 victory points and is declared the winner.
So I absolutely love Twilight Imperium. It's one of my favorite games. One of the things that makes it particularly strong is the way in which the theme and the gameplay really tie together. It has a lot of great fluff text and so on that you can read, but every action that you take also feels meaningful in the context of actually building an empire. What that means is that the game is not only interesting mechanically, but it's also a fantastic experience and even a universe that you're playing around in. The other thing is that it's got a serious depth of strategy. That means it's going to take you a few games to start to get a handle on it, and there's a great depth that you can explore developing the different kinds of races and really getting a handle for the strategy in this game. It's fantastic. One thing that detracts a little bit from its thematic strength is the fact that the difficulty of achieving some of the secret objectives is out of proportion with how many points they actually grant you, which means that some players are going to just disregard the more thematically interesting choices in order to get the safe points from either public objectives or the Imperial card. This does weaken it a little bit thematically, although it's something that's been fixed in some of the expansions and optional rules.
Another possible negative to this game is the fact that it is so big and so complex, it is going to take you a long time to set up and a long time to play. So you're going to need to be able to put aside 4 hours to complete this game. You might not be able to find a group of people who's willing to do that with you, and for new players that might be a little bit daunting. However, one of the positives of this game is that with the amount of races that you can play and the strategies that you can follow, it makes the replay value huge. Another great thing is the quality. The pieces and the cards, all of the components are of beautiful quality in this game. The art's great, everything's really tough, everything looks like it's been taken a lot of time and a lot of care to build this game. It's a beautiful quality.